Today for our special presentation with Damien Carney. We are so honored that Damien has agreed to join us, and we're anxious to get started. It's a few minutes before the hour, so I'm going to share some news and information from the Professional Beauty Association while we allow for other participants to join us. To begin, I'm Kelly White. I'm the Education and Training Manager at the Professional Beauty Association. As you all know, this is the first webinar in a series of Meet the Educator webinars featuring select educators from PBA's International Salon and Spa Expo events. We're all looking forward to ISSC Long Beach, which is held in Long Beach, California, January 29th through 31st of next year. ISSC Long Beach is the largest cash and carry professional beauty event on the West Coast, and for those of you who haven't experienced it, it is regarded as the premier beauty event in North America. We're equally excited for our ISSC Midwest event, which will be held in the Chicago area, March 26th through 28th, 2011. This is the first year PBA will be producing this show, and we're thrilled we're able to respond to industry demand for an event in the Midwest. Again, if you haven't experienced ISSC, you'll be so impressed. We offer the industry's most sought-after professional tools and products and provide exceptional industry education. And that's one of the purposes of our webinar today, to give you a chance to meet one of our ISSC educators and introduce you to the superior quality of ISSC education. It's about a minute before the hour, so we're going to get started shortly. If you're just joining us, you are listening to a live broadcast of PBA's webinar, Photo Shoots, Backstage with Damien Carney. Because we have such a large number of participants today, your phone lines and or your computer mics have been muted, which means you don't have to worry that your background noise is interfering with Damien's presentation. All right, well, we've just about reached the top of the hour. I'm so excited to introduce Damien Carney to our webinar audience. I know we have a lot of fans joining us today, many of whom are familiar with his career, but I do want to provide some impressive highlights. Damien has received a wealth of accolades. He was voted one of Modern Salon Magazine's 50 influential hairdressers in 2008. He was a finalist for the AIPP Coiffure Hairdressing Awards in Paris. He has been a NAHA finalist in the category of Contemporary Classic, and he received the Men's Hairdresser of the Year from the British Hairstyling Awards. In terms of the positions he's held, Damien served as the Principal of Education at Covent Garden Salon under Trevor Sorby before taking on the role of International Artistic Director for Joico in 1999. In 2006, Damien established Damien Carney London, which is a modern mobile hairstyling academy whose reach extends around the globe with offices in London, New York, and LA. Damien has worked with an impressive number of A-list celebrities, and his work has been seen in international publications including Elle, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, GQ, and many more. Honestly, I could continue for the full hour introducing Damien, but I think the point is clear. We're so fortunate to have him, to have an hour of his time. There's no one more qualified to guide us through this topic. Damien, thank you for joining us, and welcome to Beauty U.
Thank you very much, Kelly, and hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this exciting hour of knowledge, hopefully. Yippee.
Yes. Well, shall we jump right in?
Well, we're going to jump right in, and the interesting thing is you know, when we're talking about photo shoots, is really before you kind of go into anything, no matter what level you're at, this is to everybody, whether you're a novice or you've been doing it quite a few times, it doesn't matter. Determine your purpose and your goal, and the next set of 9 slides determine that. What kind of, our next slide, if we look at that, you can see that, here I've gone for a little bit more of an avant-garde look, so I'm making a little bit more of a statement there, and the next slide we're doing the same. I think the interesting thing is when you kind of look at our storyboard, which we're going to be discussing right through our whole program today, then we'll get a better idea of what we're looking into. Here we're working on celebrities. Celebrities is a little different. We're making a celebrity feel beautiful. They're not about looking fashionable or trendy. Here we're looking at something that's a little bit more natural. And the interesting thing about the natural thing is that it's very clean, it's very simple, more commercial, and has more appeal to maybe a more kind of modern commercial salon. The next slide, it represents that too. So when I'm working on a photo shoot, what I tend to do, I tend to kind of determine what my goals and what I would need to do straight away. And then from there, I can start gathering ideas of all kind of descriptions and all sorts. This is quite an interesting one for Culture magazine, and this is a trade magazine. And again, an image that kind of says very little, but says really quite a lot. It has that kind of Damien Carney identity. You can't see eyes, you can't see anything, just wefts of hair that's been put on. So very simple and very artful for the magazine, which was really, really important. And what I do is when I'm looking at ideas and when I'm looking at trends or when I'm looking at forecasts, you can see here is another example of just something that's really very, very simple and very clean. It's just been very clear about what I want to get out of this shoot, what I'm going to do with it, where it's going to end up being, and how it's all going to materialize. And then from there, you have like a skeleton or at least a really strong foundation of where you want to build yourself from, or where you're going to. Here shows a little bit more of a youthful, fun, and not too serious look. And this is from an editorial magazine, which is aiming at a different market, which is more urban, youthful, and fun-spirited. And I think it's important to note that when you're doing these shoots, who you're trying to appeal to. Because at the end of the day, you're doing something which is creative, and creativity is a business on its own. It's not just a pretty picture. It can become what you want it to be. Our next slide, I think, is interesting, and this was one for Zoot, and basically it's a fashion magazine, yet they chose to put somebody on the magazine that's wearing no clothes, very little makeup, and really the accent of the whole thing is really the hair. So I think an image should captivate, it should have something that should you know, stimulate the mind and really should sell what the image is all about, which is to me the key thing when we're working at it. Our next slide really talks about the creative process, and this to me is really the most important thing, where we kind of get, well, you know, I kind of know where my photo shoot's going to end up, or I'd like to know where it's going to be. I know what I'm working towards, but really how do I get this creative process going? Look at this one slide. There are many, many little things. The bottom left-hand corner has makeup. The top right has something from the past. Then you've got another magazine, and then you've got 10 magazine, which is on the top left. You look at these kind of things, and you basically gather all your ideas of rough information that are going to inspire you. And then what you have to do then, you have to kind of get those ideas. And to me, inspiration is more about how you look at things versus where you look at it. And I think that's, as I've matured, it's how I look at inspiration that I find the most important thing, because you can see something once and look at it again later down the line, and you might see something completely different. And the thing is inspiration comes and it goes. The most important thing is let your inspiration flow, and if you're not inspired that day, forget it, drop it, and go back to it. Don't force inspiration. When you force inspiration, it tends to show in your work a lot more. I like to look at the present, the past, music, fashion, film, history, everything. It's everywhere, and you can read into it, and you can be inspired however you want. The interesting thing is that then leads into the storyboard. When you've got all of these ideas, then what you're going to do is you're going to then solidify all those ideas, because you've got everything. Now you need to control those ideas into what would really make sense to your team and to you, the storyboard. And here's a very simplistic approach to a storyboard. It represents possibly the makeup, the clothes, the photography, the fashion, the mood. All of those kind of things are going to be different kind of ways of expressing your vision to your team, because at the end of the day, when you're working with your team, you want everybody else to be thinking the same kind of thing. In other words, you're all going down the same road. But you also want to allow your stylist, your makeup artist, and your photographer to interject and to bring their ideas, because after all, it is one conclusive thing when everybody's bringing their ideas. But at least you've got a pictorial which shows what you're doing. I find the simpler you keep it, the better it is. Too many images and too many things that are on there, basically what will happen, you'll end up with things that are going to be confusing. Remember, shoots are organic. Go with the flow. Go with the flow, what happens on that day. And I wouldn't be so rigid that I would feel I would have to stick to a storyboard. If something's not working, move and go with the flow.
So, Damien, it sounded almost like if you're working with a team, are you all contributing to the storyboard?
Well, the storyboard really would, absolutely. I think what happens is, which is a great question, Kelly. I mean, initially, if it's your project and you're, the hairdresser and you're starting off this project, you're going to instigate it, and then from the storyboard, then I would have a meeting with the clothes stylist, or makeup artist, or the wardrobe, or whoever it is, your team, and then you would debate it, and then you could work it out even further, and then you might have somebody, like I talked about, looking at the perspective and inspiration. Somebody might go, great, I love the makeup on that, or I was thinking, oh, less clothes here, or I like the dark, moody lighting. I think it's about picking each other's brains, and I think if you kind of just have one vision, which is very, very strong and just very, very direct, sometimes it doesn't leave